Hello, my name is Jennifer Zundel, and I'm a certified Calling in the One coach, and I support conscious singles to identify and release the hidden inner obstacles that have been keeping love away so that you can become magnetic to love and manifest your person.
And I am Sonjia Mackey, and I am a divine purpose coach, and I help single child-free women to discover and learn how to monetize their divine life purpose so they can live life with more fun, more freedom, and more fulfillment.
And we have both been featured in an article recently about single women creating their most confident self ever and having your best summer ever. And we realized that there's more to say about becoming your most confident self ever. So we
Mhm.
thought we would join today and go a little deeper on this conversation. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Put a hi in the comments box below. Let us know that you're here. And if you have any questions as we're sharing here today, please do let us know what your questions are. We would love to interact with you.
Mhm.
So, Sonjia,
Mhm.
I really am fascinated by you calling yourself a divine purpose coach. I would love to know more about that. What is that?
Okay. Well, it definitely, I mean, if we're in business, we know that you have to have a niche, right? You have to niche down and define your target audience. And so my target audience, while being single child-free women, it's also single child-free women who are spiritual in nature and who believe in God. And so that's the divine part. And so it's not just about a purpose in life. Like I hear a lot of women say, oh, I want to be a good person. I want to help people. It goes a little bit deeper than that. So it is really understanding the assignment that God has given you here on earth and what the gifts and talents are that you are to be using to help a certain group of people out there in the world. So it is really getting specific about the work that you are created to do. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be starting a business like I did. It could actually be in the corporate environment. It could even be in the nature of volunteer work. But I do believe that every person has a unique assignment that is apart from being married, apart from being single, apart from being a mother. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It has nothing to do with helping people because, theoretically, we all kind of want to help people. We're all good people and we want to be good people. But it is about really understanding the nature of the work you have been called to do and what are the gifts and talents and even the personality attributes and even the pain that you have experienced.
Mhm.
All of those things come together to give you a unique set of skills, a unique perspective that is necessary for you to live the purpose God has called you to do. So all of those things feed into your divine purpose. And that's what I help women to discover and learn how to monetize because I want these women to not just make money, but to make a difference and an impact in the world.
That's so exciting. It's really inspiring hearing you
Yeah,
talk about
I
this.
love it. I love the work that I do because it really gets down to identity and it really gets down to, and a lot of people struggle with that. Who am I really? Besides somebody's wife, besides somebody's mother, besides somebody's daughter, who am I? And what is the work that I'm meant to do? How do I add more meaning and significance to my life while also creating legacy and positive impact in the world around me? So it's huge, really. It really is.
Absolutely. Now, actually, it's so interesting that you're saying this because
Mhm.
I support singles to find love. And what you're
Mhm.
talking about, this purpose, this life purpose, is one of the things that I say is so important for you to really discover for yourself because it's going to help you actually find your person. So what you're
Mhm.
talking about is actually related to how I help people too, right?
I
It's
agree.
in fact, it's what I call one of your soulmate indicators because when
Mhm.
you're living your best purpose, when you're living your life and you're living what you're here to do, it's going to make you more attractive to your person.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And not just that, but when you are living your best life, when you get to know yourself, when you get over the identity crisis and you really understand who you are and how you are meant to move in the world, you start to develop those standards and those, the things that are important to you and the things that are deal breakers. You really start to get a better clarity around that. And then when somebody does come along, not only have you been living your best single life, but now you're ready to live your best partnered life because now they're
Yes.
coming into the equation and you're able to clearly articulate, what your deal breakers are, what your standards are. You're able to clearly navigate and they know where they stand because you know where you stand.
I love that. Yes. And I love that you said you can live your best partnered life. And the reason that I tell people that is because then your partner knows why you're making the choices that you are. They're able to support you in the life that you are wanting to create. They're able to support you with your purpose in life. And I say that this is what allows a couple to stay in it for the long term, to be lifetime
Mhm.
partners, is because you're walking the same path together rather than your
Yes.
partner making sacrifices that you don't understand. They're working long hours and you're wondering
Right.
why are they doing that? Whereas
Right.
if you're sharing a life purpose or if you have similar life purposes, then you can walk that path together. So I love that you're helping single women find their life purpose and start to live into that now. Because
Hmm.
then when someone comes into your life, you're going to be that radiant self that they're going to recognize you and want to be a part of that life purpose.
Yes, yes.
Love
And the
that you
key
support
is
people with
not to
this.
lose that woman once you find her. That's the key because so many women they like, oh, I'm so glad Mr. Right has arrived. And then they kind of let that woman slowly slip away. And no, we are not doing that. We are not
No,
doing
we are
that.
not doing that. So there's something that you said in the article that I was
Mhm.
really fascinated by. And I would like to hear a little more. So you are quoted in the article as saying, we need to learn to be confident in who we are by learning to trust our instincts and our intuition. How do you
Mhm.
help women trust their instincts and their intuition?
Oh, I mean, really, that's that inner voice, right? And I think, let's face it, we still live in a very patriarchal society, and women have been conditioned over the years to not trust themselves, to look to men, to look to other people for that confidence, for that assurance, for them to make moves, and for even within their own life. And so it really is just about reminding them that you are a fabulous woman. You are smart, you are capable, you have worked through 100% of the problems that you have gone through in life because you are still here today. And it's about trusting your instincts and your intuition, your inner voice. And everyone has one. And
Mhm,
every woman has one. So it's about trusting that inner voice and starting to act on what she says, starting to put her first, starting to prioritize her over everyone else's voice, because that's what women have a tendency to do. They listen to everybody else except
mhm,
themselves. They think everybody else is right. And no, it's about trusting yourself and starting to think and believe that you are right. You are clever, you are smart, you're capable of figuring things out, you're capable of navigating things and making decisions. And it's just about giving yourself
mhm,
permission to trust that.
mhm.
So, yes, that's what I try to do. Remind them that they are absolute badasses.
Really inspiring, learning to trust yourself and that voice that's already there, that voice that you already have access to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it may mean, like, I know that you recommend going to a therapist if people need that, and I absolutely recommend that as well, um, because sometimes that young voice, that little girl voice, or that voice that we have has been submerged, has been subverted, it has been pushed
Mhm,
down by trauma or different things that we have been through in life. So if we need help getting that, hey, therapy is self-love.
mhm,
Therapy is sexy, as you said. And so it is about, giving ourselves permission to get the tools that we need in order to really start to hear that inner voice again, in order to, again, prioritize ourselves again and start to move forward in a healthier way.
mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you had some questions as well. All right. And so I'm going to ask you some of the questions
You
that
got
I
questions for
took
me.
from the.
All right.
Yes, I do. I do. And I have them here. And, I'm going to ask the three of my questions, though. I'm going to ask them all
Okay.
together because they're kind of related there.
They are.
Now,
Okay. Great.
we've been talking about this single woman and gaining more confidence and starting to trust herself more. But you talk about falling in love with herself, which I absolutely
Ooh.
love, and I talk about that as well. Okay, even
Yeah.
before Mr. Right gets here, even before he arrives,
Mhm.
how does a woman begin to fall in love with herself?
This is really important because self love sets a foundation for bringing in a partner and having that
Mhm.
partner love you, right? Because we're training people how to treat us by how we love ourselves. And so if we haven't had the relationships that we've been wanting, the first place to look is how we've been treating ourselves. So
Mm,
I would really encourage you to commit to unconditionally loving yourself. There's a
mhm.
quote by the Buddha that you could look the whole world over and you will never find someone who's more deserving of your own love than you.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And it's good that we were in this article together because we are very similar in terms of
Yeah.
our beliefs and the way that we help women. Because I say the same thing. I mean, it's hard. Like I see a lot of women and they want to give love to that special person, but I remind them that you are equally deserving of that same love that you hope to give to someone else.
Yeah.
It's not like this person comes in and you put them on the pedestal and you treat them like a king or a queen and you give them all the love in the world. You are equally
Right.
deserving of that same love.
Right. And so
Mhm.
I encourage people to really start making your own feelings and needs a priority in the way that you would want a partner to pay attention to your own feelings and needs,
Yes,
and start
yes.
making your own dreams and desires a priority in the way that you want your partner to support your dreams and desires. It's time for you to start getting into action now, getting into
Mhm.
action. So, not just daydreaming about it, not just journaling about it, but actually bringing it into your life, taking action. And I know you believe that too, right? Getting into
Absolutely.
action and living that life. So, yes, do that now. And also, another thing that's really important for self love is learning to accept yourself when you make mistakes. Everybody make mistakes. There is
Mhm.
no way to live this life without making mistakes. And so we
Mhm.
need to see that this is just a normal part of life. And it's not that we've failed at something, we've just learned a way that it didn't work. And what can we learn from that so that we can do things differently going forwards? And we also
Absolutely.
need to learn to love our bodies. A lot of women really need some support with learning to love their body exactly
Mhm.
as it is. There are
Mhm.
wonderful, everybody's wonderful, no
Mhm.
matter what shape or size it is. It's the
Mhm.
only body we'll ever have. And so let's love it
Yes.
as it is now. And we also, especially women, need to learn to let go of comparing ourselves to other people. And we need to stop giving other people the right to validate our existence and our worthiness, and learn
Mhm.
that self validation comes from inside. That's what it's
Absolutely,
about.
absolutely. One of my favorite sayings is, self-worth comes from within, not from men. Okay. Because,
I love
yes,
rhymes like that.
because it's so important that we realize again that we are worthy of a great life. And I'll talk about that in the article. We are genuinely good people and we deserve good things in life, but we have to believe it. That's where it all starts. It starts with you believing it and then going out, as you said, action. And I am a huge proponent of action. I
Yeah,
always say the thing that separates the dreamers from the people who actually get to live their dreams is action. And you have
action.
to ask yourself, do you just want to be a dreamer or do you want to be somebody who actually gets to live their dreams? There's a difference, but action is the difference between those two people.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I
Yeah.
say, I say, remember that in the law of attraction, there's the word
Mm-hmm.
action, the law of attraction.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
many people, I keep telling my community that there are so many people who think that manifesting, because I work a lot with manifesting your person. And
Mm-hmm.
so many people think that manifesting is about sitting on the couch and daydreaming
Oh,
about your
send them to me.
person or thinking positive thoughts. And
Mhm.
I say that that's a bit like sitting on your couch thinking that your soulmate's going to fall out of the ceiling. It's not
Mhm,
going to
mhm.
happen. You
It's
actually
not
have to
gonna
get into
happen.
action.
Mhm, mhm. Well,
Manifesting does include action.
it absolutely includes action, and I totally agree with you. I do a little manifestation work myself. In fact, I'm working on a manifestation journal right now that I'm going to offer for sale. And I talk about, it's like if you were looking for a new job. Yes, you can sit there and you can pray and you can hope and you can think positive thoughts, but unless you polish up that resume, unless you go to the website and submit, unless you go and interview, unless you do some
Apply.
of the work, it's going to be very hard for you to get a new job. Hmm.
Right. Right.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, another question that I have for you, and this is something that you said in the article. You said the fastest way to create a breakthrough in your love life is to get curious about how you have been creating love from the inside out. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing to consider because so many people are external focused. This is related to letting go of other people validate us, right? That's an
Mm-hmm.
external focus. Or where is my person? Where should I go? How do I relate to men better? Why are men doing that? Why are they not doing that? And those are all external things. And sure,
Mm-hmm.
we can learn about those things and they would help us. But the if you want to create a fast breakthrough in your love life, we have to start to really get curious about what's going on inside of me. What's going on inside of me? And there are internal love blocks that are probably keeping love away, especially if you're trying to manifest and it's not happening. Probably there are
Mm-hmm.
some internal things to look at. Things like ways that you're carrying around old resentments, ways that you haven't developed the relationship skills that you need, or ways that you might be making false meaning about situations, ways
Mm-hmm.
that your past is holding you back because you think men are going to come in and always do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we have to start to understand what are the patterns that we've been inside of and what's
Mm-hmm.
our part in creating those patterns so that we
Yes.
can learn to do things differently going forwards. And that's all
Yes.
happening inside. That's all
Mm-hmm.
happening inside, regardless of what other people are doing. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
really see how are we contributing to those dynamics that we've been inside of so that we can
Right.
make new choices going forwards.
Oh my God, yes, that is so important. That is so important. It's basically that self-awareness, and really knowing again who you are, and but really understanding, and it's doing the self-work, right? And it may involve getting a professional, it may involve therapy, as you said, or a coach, but really understanding why am I the way that I am? How have I gotten here? What are some of the things that have contributed to my beliefs and how I now engage in relationships? And is this the way I want to show up in relationships? I've been doing some interviews recently, some market research interviews with single child-free women, and it was surprising, well, not really surprising, how many of them have been impacted, of course, by the relationships around them growing up, parental
Right.
relationship, external family relationships, and just seeing all of that and how it impacted them going forward to the point where, they said, oh, I want something just like what I had, or no, I don't want any parts of what I saw in my household growing up. But even, fear of commitment, fear of, are they going to be able to show up in a relationship that they want and be able to extend love and
Mhm.
receive love? Sometimes they weren't even aware of those things. They weren't aware of those traumas and blocks. So I think that, yes, it is so important to really get to know yourself, to really ask those hard questions. And I think sometimes we don't always sit down and ask the tough questions. And are we happy? Are we adding to our situation, or are we subtracting from our situation? And by that I mean, are there some behaviors that we need to address? Sometimes I think we're quick as women to maybe point things at the other person and say, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. You should be able to read my mind or understand what I
Mm,
want. But maybe we need to become a better communicator in terms of our needs and our wants instead of them
right.
being a better mind reader. So
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Those relationship skills are important.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I love that. And then I think the last question that I wanted to ask you about is, are there ways, I know that you are again a proponent of therapy, it's sexy. Are there ways to detox ourselves of these internal stories that we tell ourselves, the ones that don't serve us,
Yeah.
other than professional therapy? Are there some
Well, so
things that
it's
we can do on
interesting
our own?
because I'm not a therapist myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet I have therapists who come to me for work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therapists themselves oftentimes need support. And I've had many therapists who have come to me for coaching, and they've told me that it was more helpful than years of therapy. Just a few weeks was more helpful than years of therapy. So I guide through people through a process. And that process really gets to the somatic level of your body where those stories are living, the stories and
Mm-hmm.
beliefs that we have about life, about ourselves, about men, about how they're going to treat us, about
Mm-hmm.
relationships, about what's possible for us. See, all of that's a story that we've made
Yes.
up. And we
Mhm.
have to get to the bottom of it because that's what's
Mhm.
driving our pattern in our relationships. And so basically that process is looking at what is the story that you've been telling yourself about who you are, about who men are, about love, about marriage, about what's possible for you. And we have to see that story as clearly as we can. And the way to find that story is to go to the points, to the moments when you've been most disappointed
Mhm.
and the emotion that comes up in response to
Mhm.
that difficult, disappointing situation. And
Mhm.
notice when I'm in that emotional center, what am I assuming about myself? What am I telling
Mhm.
myself about that situation? And
Mhm.
what am I telling myself about men and how men feel about me in that situation?
Mhm.
What am I telling myself about my possibility to have happy, healthy love in that
Right.
situation? And
Right.
notice that that's probably a default that you go to often. It's probably not just that situation. It's probably a
Mhm.
story that you keep coming back to over and over anytime you're disappointed.
Right.
And once we tell ourselves that story and we think it's going to happen again, we're afraid it's even going to happen again. And so then when we get nervous and we start to date again, or we start to like someone again, or we get into a situation where we're afraid it's going to happen again, then we have to notice, what is that story causing us to do? Because again, I'm
Mhm.
very action oriented like you are, right? Like I
Mhm.
really want to see, what are the actions, what are the behaviors, what are the choices that that story is actually causing me to do?
Mhm.
Because the reality is, I'm probably behaving in ways that I'm not aware of when I'm in that story. I'm
Mhm.
probably making choices and taking actions that are not in my best interest, that are not going to create a happy, healthy relationship. And I need to
Mhm.
see it clearly. Again, self awareness is really important here, because until we make it aware, until we make it conscious, it's actually living inside of us unconsciously. And the way that that happens is that those stories, those beliefs that we tell ourselves, they affect our energy, they affect our body language, they affect our facial expressions, they affect us so quickly when something
Mhm.
happens that we're not aware of it. And it
Mhm.
causes us to do things that then sabotage a relationship, that then
Mhm.
sabotage a situation. And it's amazing because sometimes it just feels like something in your body's driving you to do something, and it
Mhm.
feels out of control, even though you know, I shouldn't be doing this, even though you
Yes.
know this is not the right thing for me to do, but I feel like I have no other possibility here.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
That's that old story that's driving you to do things that are not going to have the situation go well. So
Right.
then once we see that clearly, then I support people to name what's really true. What's
Mhm.
really true at the deepest core of your being, at
Mhm.
the deepest core of your being, what is really true about who
True.
you are? Who
Yes.
are men? Who are men really? What is possible for you about love at the
Mhm.
deepest core of your being?
Mm.
So for
Mm.
example, maybe someone has a false belief that they're not worthy of love because they keep getting evidence, what they think is evidence, mirrored
Mhm.
back to them that they're not worthy, because
Yes.
maybe a man's not choosing them, for example. And
Mhm.
so if we look at what's really true, every human being on the planet is worthy of love. Like we said earlier, right? The Buddha said you
Absolutely.
could look the whole world over and you'll never find someone more deserving of your love than you.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
really need to see what's actually really true. And
Yes.
then we see, okay, so if that's actually really true, how would I show up differently in the world? What would be the behaviors I would do? What would be the actions I would take, the choices I would make? How would my body language be different? How would my tone of voice be different? How would my facial expressions be different? Everything changes
Mhm.
if you're really centered there. And how can I start to show up in the world from that center,
Mm.
despite
Okay.
whatever someone else is doing, right? If someone
Right.
else is not asking me out on a date, That doesn't change
Hmm.
who I am at my core.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. And so
Yes.
we, again, this is coming back to that confidence piece, like our article is about confidence. This is
Hmm.
really getting into the core of who you really are, your confidence. And then we start to show up in the world differently. And our
Hmm.
somatic, we're changing our beliefs at the somatic level of our body. So this
Mm.
is what you can start to do now, right? To change that
Yes.
system.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for explaining that and breaking that down because I think that is hugely important for women to understand that, again, as we have reiterated several times during this video, it's about loving yourself. It is really about loving yourself first, and that is irrespective of what else is going on around you. It reminded me of the quote, with like the sun shining and the moon, like they don't cease to do what they do just because no one can see it or appreciate it. They're still there shining. And
Right.
so we have to know that same with us. We are still there shining, whether someone can appreciate it or not.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's just a fact. It's just what's
Yes,
so, is what I
it
often
is
tell my
a fact.
clients. It's a fact. It's like the sun rises in the morning, the sun sets in
Mhm.
the evening. It never changes. The
Exactly.
same with your
Exactly.
worthiness of having love. It
Exactly.
never changes, no matter
Wow.
what someone else is doing or not doing. It's
Mhm.
just a fact.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
So I would love, before we
Mhm.
finish up here, I would love to hear a few or one great travel experience that you've had, because I know from the
Mhm.
article you've talked a lot about supporting women to have great adventures with travel, and I love travel myself. So I would love to hear
Oh,
one of
yeah.
yours.
Well, I mean, not just travel, but I believe life is an adventure. Helen Keller said that, like, if it's not an adventure, like, what is it? What are we doing here? And so I am hugely a fan of travel. It is my number one passion. I have traveled to all seven continents, all 50 states, and 81 different countries. So I left my corporate job to do remote work so that I could have more travel, have more freedom to travel. So it is hugely important to me and a huge part of my life. And I think for a lot of people, whether they want one vacation a year or whether they also want to be a digital nomad and really be free to travel, there's that aspect of what else does the world hold out there. It's exciting, it's fascinating, other cultures, especially to me and a lot of the people in my circle. So, but what I often hear women say is, well, what kind of job do you have, that you could travel like that? And so what that tells me is that they always attribute it to money.
Mm,
And of course, we would be remiss if we didn't recognize that yes, you need money to do everything. Yes, you need money to travel. But I have always said, and what I believe is that even more important than money is travel a priority in your life.
mhm.
Because whatever you prioritize is what will happen in your life. Whatever you
Absolutely.
value, whatever, anything that you want in life, like your time, your money, your resources, they're all going to line up with what you prioritize. Think about it. If you prioritize building a new house, you're going to line up your resources, your finances. Oh, I'm building a house. I need to save for that. If you're saving for your kids to go to
Mhm.
school, college, same thing. Oh, let me line up my resources. Kids are going to be going to school next year. We need to be focused on that. Getting married next year, whatever is the priority, that's how your resources are going to align. So if you value travel, if it's important to you, you're going to align in that way. And so that's what I tell people first off. Number one is travel important to you? Because if it's important to you, where there's a will, there's a way, and you'll find a way. And same thing, like you may feel, well, I don't have enough money to travel. Travel is whatever you make it. If you drive the next state over for the weekend, that still counts as travel. It doesn't have to be a 10-day international trip to Paris. Okay. It could be the next state over for the weekend. That's still travel. So sometimes, again, it's about opening our mindset and seeing things a little bit differently. Okay. And once you do that,
Mhm.
it just opens up the world. I know a lot of single women who don't want to travel to certain locations because they're more romantic. Well, I can tell you, I traveled to Bora Bora years ago And I originally planned it as a trip just for myself. Now, this is a romantic quote destination, but I was going to romance myself. I wanted to treat myself well for my birthday. And I was going to go. Now, in the end, one of my friends invited herself along, like, oh, you're going to Bora Bora? I'd like to go there too. I'm like, okay, but my original plan was to go and treat myself well. And I wasn't waiting on some guy. I wasn't waiting on a husband. I wasn't waiting on a bae or a boo or anything like that. I loved myself enough to treat myself to this great location on my own. And that's what I tell any single woman. You are worthy on your own of every great and amazing thing in this world.
I
Okay. And
love
so,
that.
first of all, I think they have to embody that. It's about your mindset and what you believe. And
Mhm.
once you believe that, it's like, I can go anywhere, because I can tell you, if I had waited on a partner to go to Bora Bora, I'd still be waiting. And I did
Yeah.
that probably over 15 years ago. I would still be
So
waiting though if I
exciting.
had waited.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is so, I love that you're saying that you went with this romantic situation with the purpose of romancing yourself. I love that. Like, just even that idea is super inspiring. Romancing
Absolutely.
yourself.
Yes, I had the flower spa bath,
You did.
like, oh yes, I stayed in the over the water bungalow. You could see the fish little
Okay.
channels in the
Uh,
floor. Yes.
Sonjia, I'm going to go book myself a vacation like that.
Yes, yeah. Treat yourself well, okay? I firmly believe that, because then when other people are certain, navigating around you, they see that you treat yourself well. A potential partner sees, oh, she has high standards. She treats herself well. I can't come in here any kind of way. I have to come in here treating her the way that she is used to being treated. Okay. So again, back to what we said earlier, it sets the tone for not just your single life, but your partnered life as well. But I would
Yeah.
tell you that fear is not something that I have time for. Okay. And I believe that when you know your divine purpose, your divine assignment in life, it helps to obliterate fear, because
Yeah.
you don't have time to sit in that when you know I have an assignment, I have work to do, I
Yeah.
have people who need my help. I have
Yes.
a task that God has assigned to me to accomplish in this one
Yes.
and only life that I get. So
Yes.
you get on target with your
Yes.
purpose and your work. And so
Yes.
if fear starts to, like, talk in your ear, you're like, I don't have time for you today. I got stuff to do. I have people
Yeah.
to help.
Absolutely.
And so I'm absolutely about that. And so there was a trip that I planned, a group trip, where I took 9 women with me to the country of Iran. And this was pre-pandemic. And oh my God, everyone around us was saying, well, are you sure you want to go there? Why are you going there? Are you going to be safe? They were asking all these questions. They were recommended against it. And we were like, we're going. We're going. And so we get there. And of course, America and Iran has had some contentious relations in the past. So to the point where even people from other countries were asking us, what are you guys doing here? Are you like you're supposed to be here? Like,
Mhm.
Europeans, Asians, different people from other countries, like, what are you doing here? And we're on vacation, just like you, And so I'm a little cheeky like that. And but what the really amazing thing was is all the local people who live there, the
Yeah.
Iranians, saying,
Yeah.
we're so glad you're here. Like,
Oh,
it's not us, it's the governments, but we love you guys. We
right.
welcome you here. We're
Right.
glad to have you here. Every city, every town we went to, we all agreed Iran was one of the friendliest places we had ever been.
Right.
And that is a total it's a total difference
Yes.
from the perception. If we had listened to other people, we would never have gone. And we
Right.
would never have gotten to see for ourselves, these people are friendly. These
Right.
people enjoy having us here. These people
Right.
are welcoming and warm to us. But we would have continued to hold on to an incorrect stereotype if we had
Right.
listened to fear. And that's what it was. It was other people's fear that they were projecting onto us, and
Mhm.
we refused to accept it. We
Right.
refuse to accept it. And so that's what I would say is one of my most memorable, for all of us that went on that trip. It was so memorable because it was so different from how everyone thought it would be. And again, we put them in our top 5, 81 countries I've been to, one of the friendliest.
Wow.
Yes.
I love
But
that you just said something here that I feel
mhm,
like is a nugget to take away is
mhm,
other people were projecting onto you and you
yes,
just refused to accept it.
we refuse to accept it. We're not going to
Yeah,
accept that.
We don't
It's
have
not
to
going to work
accept
over
that.
here.
It's not going to work over
Right.
here.
Yeah.
I'm the
And it shouldn't be working
decider.
with you.
I'm the decider of my value, what I believe,
Yes.
what's possible for me, not other
Yes.
people. I
Exactly.
also love,
Exactly.
there's been a mantra that I've had my entire life
Hmm.
when I want to do things to follow my dreams and my purpose
Hmm.
is find a way or make a way.
Absolutely.
That's the only
Absolutely.
option.
And there's
It's
always a way, right?
happening.
There's
There's
always a way.
always a way. There's
There's always a
always a
way.
way.
And that kind of gets to something that I was thinking, about, and it relates to action because we're both action takers, right? And so, the movie, this was a very popular movie, so people have probably seen it, but the movie Top Gun Maverick, okay? One of his life mantra, don't think, do,
Ooh,
because Maverick knew people have a tendency to overthink things. And let's face it, a lot of women have a tendency to overthink things.
yeah.
And then what happens is they get caught in paralysis by analysis,
Yeah.
okay? And they end up not doing anything,
Yeah.
okay? And so he said, don't overthink things, just take action, do. And I think that is a great mantra to have. Now, it doesn't mean just go out there and act willy-nilly and do everything.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that we do need to think about, but the caveat is not to get caught up in overthinking things to death. There are
Yeah.
some things that we can absolutely move on,
Yeah.
that we can take action on. And if we do that, I mean, I said earlier, action is what separates the dreamers from the people who actually get to live their dreams.
Right. Very
Mhm.
inspiring.
Yes.
I have loved talking with you today. It's been
Yes, it's been
really inspiring.
great.
And I think that people need to go check out our article where we're both featured to go
Yes.
even deeper
Mhm.
into this topic of confidence. So the article is called Confident Women: How to Have Your Best Summer on Record. And
Yes.
we would love for you to check the article out. Let us know if you have any
Mhm.
questions. Let us know what you think. And I will put a link in the article below.
Yes.
Thank you
That
so
sounds
much
great.
for talking with me today, Sonjia.
Thank you.